Good evening to you all. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this year's pilgrimage. I have heard wonderful things about the Heart Mountain pilgrimage. I have heard how moving the weekend is and how warm the people attending it are. I caught a glimpse of these things even in the schedule of events. When I read through the very interesting program for the weekend, a couple of things in particular made me pause. Tomorrow, there is a remembrance of La Donna Zoll, who I know was a curator at Heart Mountain. On a bitterly cold Wyoming day, she witnessed the last train of Incasseries to leave the camp. In an interview, she said she and her sister were crying. It wasn't because of the wind, but because it was such a sad sight. And there is someone else we'll be remembering this weekend, Elder Grant Bluetail of the Crow Nation. He remembered driving past the camp as a boy and his grandfather's disappointment that the land taken from the Crow was used to incarcerate others. Truly, there is a trail of tears into the camp and trail of tears out of the camp. This is a place of stories, from the story of Shirley and Higuchi's mothers to the story of Secretary Mineta and Senator Simpson to that of La Donna Zoll and Grant Bluetail. The Heart Mountain webpage says the pilgrimage is about remembering, but it is also about what we do with the memory. The foundation has great things with those memories. You have rescued them and brought them alive. You have articulated their lessons and their dangers. You have illuminated their larger meaning. We at the Embassy wholeheartedly support the Foundation's efforts, especially reaching out to Japanese, such as the virtual lectures of Shirley and Higuchi and Samihara at Josai Kokusai University last year. Grant Bluetail said he believed the Heart Mountain lent the Japanese American strength, just as it has helped the Crow endure their hardships. I believe the mountain still gives strength and guidance, and in that there is comfort. For generations, Heart Mountain has touched a variety of peoples in a variety of ways. Seeking their wisdom is what I understand the pilgrimage is all about, and it is why all of us are here. I'm honored to be part of this weekend, and I thank you for inviting me.
Here earlier, but he had to take off. And also Pete and Lynn Simpson, if you can give us a wave also. And I quickly introduce Pete and Lynn is because Pete is a recipient of our Compassionate Witness Award named after La Donna Zoll. And we are going to be celebrating her life tomorrow morning as well as honoring Pete. So I wanted to give everyone a quick reminder about that experience. But in any event, we've had a very, very successful last week and a week before that with the National Education of Humanities Workshop. And I really appreciate all the faculty, our master teacher, Tyson M. Borg, as well as Ray Locker and Julie Abo, who is not here right now, but I know she's around, who helped lead that effort. And thanks to all the board members that are here. We appreciate you every day, and Claudia, I want to give you a quick call out because she just stepped down after 34 years as head of the Koji Travel Council. I want to give her a big hand. But I don't want to take up everyone's time now. I want to, just say we're going to be kicking off the Mineta Simpson Institute this evening. We have a quick video that we're going to share, and then I'm going to turn this over to my Vice Chair, Doug Nelson, to welcome all of you, but also to emphasize the importance of supporting Heart Mountain and the Mineta Simpson Institute. Thank you very much.
Probably the most seminal moment in my life was December 7th, 1941. We had just returned home from church, and we had the radio on, and pretty soon people were calling about what's going on in Hawaii and how is that going to impact on us. Soon after February 19th, the big placards went up in those neighborhoods where there were many people of Japanese ancestry, and we could only take what we could carry.
14,000 people came to the sagebrush between Koji and Powell, about 15 miles from Koji, 10 from Powell, and it had barbed wire and the entire enclosure. It was barracks, as far as you could see, barracks. Our scoutmaster, very advanced fellow, said, "Look, they've got scout troops out there." And we went out there and just did merit badges and braiding. I didn't have any hair to braid, but we braided other things. And met this cat. And then it never ended.
Back in Koji. My name is Doug Nelson, and I'm the vice chair of the Hard Mountain Wyoming Foundation. And my conversation today is really an appeal for your help and support in making the Minetta Simpson Institute a reality, and a reality in the next couple of years. The reason this is important is after 10 years of this wonderful interpretive center and 10 years of trying to tell the story as fully and as honestly as we can of what happened at this place, one of the things we've learned is that this story has the power to change the way people think about this country. And the Minetta Simpson Institute is our attempt to find a way to avail these important stories of what happened here to a much larger audience than those who can come here and visit in person. These stories are unbelievably important, and there are many of them that are powerful on many levels. You know, one is, this is the story, Heart Mountain tells the story of the devastation on innocent human beings that was wrought by the combination of racism and fear in World War II. It is a cautionary tale. It is a warning about the power of racism and fear to lead to awful outcomes. And it is a lesson that is timely today. But it's also not just a story of the hardship and devastation and unearned suffering of 14,000 people here and 120,000 people across the country during World War II. It's also a story of resilience. This was a place where 14,000 people came together and found a way to survive. They found a way to make a community. They found a way to create some semblance of normality for the security and future of their children in a concentration camp. And they found a way, most remarkably of all, to maintain their hope and faith in this country. It was also, that's a remarkable, I think, achievement, and it is reflected in the post-war contributions of the Japanese American community to the wealth and well-being of this country. More than that, this is also a story of courage here that's almost uniquely powerful. Hundreds and hundreds of young men left Heart Mountain to go to war for their country, leaving their families behind in a prison camp, to go to war for their country in Europe and in the Pacific. Also, at Heart Mountain, a couple hundred left their families here and left this place to go to jail because their conscience told them that they should not accept the violation of constitutional rights and civil rights and human rights that this place represented to them. Two very different ways of expressing patriotism and courage, and something that is helpful for all of us to understand. It's also, in the end, a story of redemption. What happened to the Japanese Americans in World War II was the subject first in 1946 of an action by President Truman pardoning all of those who had been arrested for violating draft laws, because he recognized that this was an act of conscience, not an act of unpatriotic disloyalty. It was an act of conscience in support of the highest ideals of America. But more than that, in 1988, the United States, thanks to the leadership of Norman Mineta and the critical support of Alan Simpson, issued the first of its kind an apology to the Japanese American community for the unjust and indefensible incarceration during World War II. More than that, that apology is without precedent in American history, and it reflects a wonderfully inspiring story, not just about the endurance and resilience of Japanese Americans, but about the potential of the United States for good. It takes a great nation to acknowledge its errors and learn from them. And that's part of the important outcome of this story. And I mentioned the lifelong relationship between Norm and Al has been told often and is in itself remarkable. It was an act of courage that is part of our story, that this Boy Scout leader decided to drag Boy Scouts out here to extend a hand of kindness and respect and brotherhood to the Boy Scout troop that was here. Another risking of reputation, an act of courage. What we want to do is figure out how to make this story really accessible, influential, and powerful on people in this country who lead, on people in this country who teach, on people in this country who vote, on people in this country who will help shape our future. And we think there is lots to say to those audiences. The Mineta-Simpson Institute will enable us to do things we cannot do now. It will allow us to create a conference center here that will bring groups like the teacher workshops that are going on now into a place suited for that kind of activity, not just once or twice a summer, but we are going to become a destination for conferences, seminars, other organizational meetings who want to benefit and be moved by the story that exists here. We also want to develop resources that allow our stories to be portable. Resources like republishing everything that's ever been written that illuminates the stories of Heart Mountain. Developing podcasts that tell the stories. Finding ways of making the moving oral histories that we see a sample of in the museum itself available to inspire and to inform people across the country. to create new documentaries here. That's what the Norman Mineta and Alan Simpson Institute is going to be. A facility that extends our capacity to touch audiences across the country and to invite audiences here to be moved by the power of place. It's cost money to build this dream. We believe that the kind of center that we have, institute we've envisioned, will cost us about $4.5 million. I'm delighted to say to our online audience and to everybody here that as of today, at the launch of this campaign, we have raised $1.6 million. A good start. I want us to raise $2 million by the end of this summer. And I am asking all of us who participate in this pilgrimage to reflect a little bit about how they can help, to help identify people who would be interested in supporting this mission that we have for the Institute, reach out to people who want and should want to honor the extraordinary careers of Norman Mineta and Alan Simpson, and celebrate, which is one of the things that we hope to be a theme of the Mineta Simpson Center, to celebrate the bipartisan, non-ideological collaboration between these two men who shared in common what all Americans should share in common, a devotion to defending the Constitution and the rights of Americans, regardless of their background, race, or circumstance. Those two men exemplify what this country has to embrace soon. It's a worthy, I think, mission. I'm happy to say, because he's in the room, that since the board made its original pledges, which are fairly significant, part of that 1.6 million, Sam Mahara, who has been our kind of prototype Mineta Simpson person, he's been going around the country making this story available to 60,000 people he's talked to, and now we want to make sure that Sam can continue doing that with Mineta Simpson Institute support, and we can do lots more, including filming Sam's wonderful and moving story. Sam has given $60,000 to this cause a month ago, and I'm asking everybody, by the way, I hope everybody at the pilgrimage, everybody in this room, contributes to at least a collective effort to match that $60,000. So by Sunday night, we're hoping that people will have made a decision that allows me to tell Sam, we got every dollar that you contributed in appreciation from the pilgrimage. So help us do that. Keep tuned in. This is going to be done. We're going to break ground, I swear, next pilgrimage, and we are going to cut ribbons in the pilgrimage after that. And it is going to be an extraordinary, I think, accomplishment. Thank you very much.